Let's roll.
Let's rock and roll. All right. Welcome to another edition of Boundaries on Brotherhood with your hosts, Gordon Wat, and my co-host, the Batman of everything, all the anime guy, Doc.
This is Dr. Fairclough. It's good to be here, everybody. We're making progress. Now y'all see us on both places now, right? Voices randomly in places, right?
Today's topic was something me and Doc do at a program called Real Talk Youth at Impact Program with At Risk. We had the pleasure of doing a parent group. And one of the topics came up about isolation and somebody to talk to and things like that. Thank you for joining us. The topic was how men isolate themselves and what can do about it. Because that's a big thing with all things going on in the world. Let them know what we're going to be doing while I still get all this other stuff set up. We're doing YouTube, live, record, playlists, podcasts. It's all going at the same time with our pictures in the thing, and you can hear us.
It's crazy to see the progress that was made and running into problems and then overcoming them. And it's always a great thing. I love seeing stuff like that. So let's do getting all set up, Gordon. I'll kind of give the whole background to all this. So me and Gordon were in our Real Talk group. We were in the parent group the other day. And we can talk about the parents and, the issues they're having with the kids and things like that. And what came up, I was talking, and one of the things I was saying is about being a safe space, right? And that we as parents have to become a safe space for our children. And so then as me and Gordon were talking, as we're getting set up and preparing for this, the recording in this live, we started talking about how that applies to a lot of men as well, and how isolation ends up killing us, and how we need to be able to go and connect, right? We got to be able to do that, but it's very common for us as men to isolate, right? Because isolation, that's supposed to be like, oh, he's strong, or he's driven, or he's disciplined, or he's whatever, right? Whatever moniker we want to put on that isolation, it is something that's kind of romantic as far as guys are concerned. Like, you think about the warrior that goes off, and by himself and focusing and just like getting it in, the last man standing in a battle and just fighting it off like it is. There was even a point in time where people were churning out videos of, like, who would say women, want to go in their sleep with all their loved ones around them, as they get older. And then it would say but men, and it shows like these videos of guys like fighting off hordes of monsters and things like that. Again, the romanticized idea of isolation and how it's tied to like strength and masculinity and things like that. Yet it's killing us. Like, it's cool in video games. It's and I'll be honest, when you see it in real life, sometimes like you hear some of those stories about the one warrior in World War I, or back in like feudal Japan, or the warring states of China, or whatever, like one hero, like, it's cool. That's not the standard. That's not the norm. Those are outliers. And it actually has nothing to do with interpersonal connection at all, right? That's driven, things like that. Like, they had to do that. We're talking about finding connection and community on us as men to destroy this whole isolation thing, where to be a man, you have to be by yourself and you can't ask for help and all those things like that. So we're going to be getting into more of that today as we continue on with the podcast.
We're talking about how men in isolation and how it's a misconcept of everything else. Doc was just going over the preamble, what isolation is and what the myths has been doing. We had a judge that speak on a certain things last week, that even he needed to talk to somebody at his point in life when he needed to. Doc, how does isolation affect a man in your field nowadays? Like, how deep?
Mental health therapy in my field like that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, that's tends to be a big issue with us as men, or really in the field, period. But we're speaking about men. You have your own practice, you do your own thing, and that's it. Right? There's no community. There's no connecting with anybody. There's no nothing like that. You just kind of do your own thing. You have to be very, very, very intentional about going out and making connections so you don't stay isolated. But this field right here, as far as mental health is concerned, yeah, it can be very lonely. It can be very lonely. You could be very successful. And honestly, you could be very successful in this field as mental health and not necessarily need to connect with anybody else like that. right? If you have a full case, or if you're bringing in 20, 30 clients, if you're all cash pay, your cash pay is 150 and you're consistently getting that, you're breaking six figures easy. So why do I need to go and form a bond with another therapist
Not
or
true.
something along the like, why do I have to form a big practice? Like, why would I want all that extra overhead? I'm killing it by myself. But unfortunately, like we still need other people. So yeah, we might in this field, we might do that or can do well by ourselves. Though, what about the social aspect, right? Because once the day's done, you're going home to who, right? If you're not
Correct.
married, to an empty house
Correct. Correct.
to repeat the next day. Who are you going to share your burdens with? Who are you going to share your concerns, your thoughts, your feelings? Where are you going to receive love from? Things like that. Like all those unanswered questions. Who are you going to connect with, have fun with? Who are you going to go to dinner with? Who are you going to like all that goes away. And so this deep sense of loneliness sits in. And if we have that moniker of like, well, to be a man, you got to be by yourself. Yeah, you're not going to seek out. You're just going to tough it out and muscle through it. And so, I mean, I don't know about every other field as far as employment's concerned, but what I do know is this, that there are other jobs out there that we as men do that can be very isolating like that. And yeah, we got to do something to change that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just was talking about Doc with about his profession, but isolation in men is a really key thing. Taking from a guy that's been sitting on bunks for a long time. I mean, if you look at it, it's going to be a deep one. I read something that just today. It was like, I just turned 57 2 weeks ago. I've outlived more than what's ahead of me already. If God blesses me at 20 more years, I'm already 57. I've already outlived what's going to happen to me already. And I'm being blessed the future 20 years, if I even make it that way. Do I want to be isolated enough to not have memories with my kids or to not reach out with people that is going to do anything? How is isolate? I mean, and 20 plus years of it was sitting on bunks, being isolated in my own thoughts, in jail cells, in drug use, in a lot of different things that overcame. But at the same time, I see the modern man today isolating themselves because of not knowing who to talk to and not even know where to begin. How do men begin what you're seeing right now?
Well, I mean, as far as like a beginning, I think you first to recognize that it's not okay to be alone, right?
Mhm.
Like that's not a cool thing. It's not a badge of honor. It's not anything like that. Like to challenge that whole idea of that to be a man, to really be masculine, I gotta do everything all by myself. Who says who? You know, who
Right?
decided that? Who created the rule that says that in order for us to be men, we have to isolate? I'm gonna hop on my soapbox real quick because I was in my prayer walk and I was thinking about this as well. And it's so strange that a world, God says that, he made man and woman, right? So from the get go, right? From conception, you're already a man. You don't have to do anything to earn it. You don't have to do anything to be it, nothing like that. From the get go, you are already a full fledged man. There is no rites of passage or nothing like that. So it's very strange that we take our cues from a world who can't even tell what a man or a woman is and then take our cues from men. Very strange that we're taking our cues from a world that's as jacked up and screwed up as it is to say what a man is supposed to be. It's very strange that we're looking to an Andrew Tate who manipulated and used women to make his fortune, who manipulated women to manipulate men to make his fortune. Yet that was supposed to be masculine. That's supposed to be what a man is. It's very strange that we take our cues from the world where you got that guy from Fresh and Fit, Myron, whatever, who is living off berating women. Like, it's very strange that we're taking our cues of what manhood is. And the thing is, the world says that we as men should isolate. So let me ask y'all this question. Someone who was on drugs, if someone who had a terrible marriage, someone who couldn't keep a job, if someone who was broke was giving you advice how to fix your life, would you take it? Would you take that advice? Hey, this is what you need to do when you're married. Of course you're going to take their advice. Why are we taking our cues from the world that's as jacked up as it is on what it is to be a man? Because the world says to be a man, you have to isolate. God says it's not good for you to be alone. And then even, oh, well, I'm not a Christian. You don't got to be a Christian because guess what? The science says it is not good for us to be alone. That's what the study said. And science When it always comes back to when you look at true, real science, it always back to the Bible. So it's not good for us to be alone. We are supposed to connect. We're supposed to lock arms and have brotherhood. Recognize isolating and being told that isolation makes you more of a man. That's a lie.
It's
That's a
not.
lie. That's the first part you need to recognize. That is a lie. We are supposed to connect.
Even in prison, people, even with gangs, you don't want to be isolated. Even with doing criminal activity, even if you're not loved at home, you try to seek out gang. You try to seek out somebody that's going to give you the love, because you're not supposed to be isolated. The world has developed this thing. You see a lot of them. I see a lot of them in prison. I've been one of them, but it didn't. That's why I can speak from experience. Isolation, being at top, saying it's lonely and stuff, doesn't make it any better, because at the end of the day, you need to share things with somebody stuff, and then mentally and emotionally, you turn into a different person. You become more jaded, more rotten, because you think your shit doesn't stink. Because at the same time, isolation, getting out of isolation is not just physical, it's also mental and emotional. Like I said, the older you get, the better you start to realize that all the materialistic stuff, yeah, money, you got to have money. You got to have certain things. You got to do this. But you can't take that with you unless you leave it to a legacy with your kids. They would rather have information now, because the information you give them, the way to treat, say, your next generation, like my kids will open the door for a lady, because that's what I've been taught. This is what I'm teaching them. And then people applaud me for having my 3-year-old open the door for their kindergartner classroom. Or you mean, because they're like, what is that? It's like, it's those things. Now, how does isolation affect the mentality of the man you work with now in your clients?
Isolation. So what ends up happening is there's a lot of rumination that takes place. You become your own echo chamber. What I see is a lot of rumination. You have those negative thoughts that come up, the negative thoughts about yourself, about self-worth and validation and production and your ambition and your growth, all that stuff that all comes flooding in. And because of isolation, it just keeps running on repeat, and it keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, right? And so that's what I see happen with the men who are isolated, who don't have anyone to kind of break up that thinking, to challenge that thing, to give another perspective. There's an intense rumination. And I don't want to take a step back real quick before we move forward on that, Gordon, because obviously you being in jail and things like that, in a very real concrete sense, you guys understand that you cannot be alone.
Literally.
You have to find group. You have to connect with somebody. There's protection in the group. There's supplies in the group. There's resources. There's safety. There's all that in a group. And so it just makes sense. You see that. That's why we as people, we are communal people, human beings, just the gender. But like, we as human beings are communal people. We are designed to be together. That no civilization has ever been created by one person. God did not make just Adam. No kingdom had just the king. No country had just the president. No, our communities, our countries, our culture, all that stuff are made up because we didn't isolate. As a matter of fact, fun fact, isolation meant death back in the day, which is strange.
They cast you out.
Right? That meant death. That's why we're so terrified of rejection now, because that meant death back in the day. True. Right. So we carry that with us even today. So the whole idea, I'm just really trying to figure out where this romanticized idea of, I got to isolate to be a man, where that came from. Right. Are there moments in time where we have to focus and shut out the noise and do what we got to do for ourselves? Absolutely. But that has absolutely nothing to do with masculinity and being a man. It has to do with just achieving a goal and doing what we need to do and focusing. Men can do it. Women can do it.
Yep.
Children can do it. We all do it, right? That's really task-oriented, goal-oriented things like that. So the whole idea of isolation, right? I don't want to be that man on the battlefield by himself, fighting off an army of 1,000 people, right? That would be cool, right? In reality, the situation is I'm one man. No, I would rather have an army of guys around me. Like, and you guys see the Spartan shield behind me. If you're on TikTok, you're not going to see it, but if on YouTube, you'll see it. It reminds me of 300. What did they do? They didn't isolate. 300 came together and locked arms and shield. Yeah. And because up arms and shields. They are legends today, not because one man did something, but a group of men came together and said, we are going to stand against an army. We are going to do everything in our power to stand against. And because of their ability to connect and not isolate, that's where their strength came from. Because the saying their strength in numbers is real. So if you're a man out there, isolate himself because you think that's what you have to do when you got to solve things by yourself. Again, those are all lies. I need you to, that's a fact. What I'm just telling you right now, those things of being by yourself and isolating and that makes you manly and all that, that's already a lie. That's a lie. Just take that. That's already a lie. Yeah, of course. And let me also preface this and put a little asterisk next to this, right? So this is talking about the men who are already self-sufficient.
Okay.
Right. We're not talking about the men who are manipulating or using other people or things like that. This is different because I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm trying to do, by taking money from you and laying on your couch and borrow something from you. And no. That's a whole nother topic for another time that we don't have time for right now. This is for men. I'm already standing on my own 2 feet. And I can pay my own bills. I can pay my own way. I got my own stuff. Like, if you're already self-sufficient as it is, then guess what? There's no shame in asking for help. But even outside of asking for help, don't isolate, period, right? Go hang out with your friends, right? Go play football. Go work out. Go call them on the phone. Get on the game. Don't isolate. There's no strength. There's no glory. There's no anything in isolating. It doesn't do anything for you but damage you. That's it.
Right? Isolation causes something. It causes thoughts to get into your head to do something to just undo yourself. If you isolate yourself, you're in deep thought and you don't know how to control those thinkings and those emotions, and you go into best like Doc said, an echo chamber of yourself, and you don't know how to deal with it. Guess what happens? You want to go do stupid things just to get validation, attention, and even from things that you might not necessarily like. But because you're looking for that and you're not okay with being yourself and your true happiness, it kind of leads into that direction. And like Doc says, when you start isolating yourself, Doc, right, from the Doc, and for you guys that's listening, watching Doc is a real life therapist. I call him Doc for a reason. And if you need legal professional help, you can reach out to him at Freedom Change Success. This is what he does as a profession. He just said we collaborated and partnered up with this so we can do some workshops, some coaching, some things that can help you go into a different realm where you're at right now. But understand, isolation leads to bad things, very, very bad things. Doc, when people still isolate themselves in today's society or the people that you help professionally, so if you're in this state, guys, if you're in this part in your life and you have these characteristics going on, this is what Doc want to talk about so that we can both lead you to a different life.
Yeah. So I'll say just a general overview of that is just emotional hurt, unprocessed emotional hurt from back in the day. Their parents hurt them, or maybe the school bully, or maybe it was a teacher, or maybe it was an uncle or a cousin, or someone hurt them back in the day, and the hurt was so bad that the solution to that was to not open up, not share, be by myself.
Right? Oh, okay.
That's usually some form of passion of that. All the guys I've worked with, it's some version of that, right? I've experienced some type of hurt, some type of betrayal that's not been processed. I've globalized it, and I now think the world is not safe. People are not safe. But if I stay by myself, I can't be hurt. Right? So that's usually what happens in isolation.
Is it almost like a protection mechanism also?
Yes.
So if you're one of these people watching this on replay and you're sharing this to somebody that you think might be going through this, please reach out, leave us a comment, watch some of our content on YouTube, because we go over this type of stuff to help men become confident, become the 11th man, right? Learn how to express themselves, their feelings, and not be afraid, right? A lot of the times Doc talks about his experience with some of the things he's got going on, personal things, but as becoming a man, the 11th man, basically, right? The 11th man is the person that doesn't care about it. He has boundaries. He's got the women. He's got everything that he wants. Does the 11th man have How do they get these qualities that we're talking about today?
Well, I mean, the first thing is it probably has to be he would be in community with other men, other like-minded men, right? Men who are doing something, men who are going somewhere, men who are well-to-do, right? So the 11th man doesn't hang around people who are making zero progress. He's not the guy hanging out under the tree while everyone's drinking a cold one. The 11th man is not there. He's not hanging out on the corner in the middle of the morning, just hanging out. He's not there, right? The 11th man is connected with like-minded men who are on a mission and are driven, are moving somewhere to be a better husband, better father, better businessman, better in the gym health. They're around men who are going to build them up. The 11th man recognizes the hurt and the pain that maybe he's experienced, and then he processes through it. He does whatever work he needs to do to get through that, and he starts making connections with other men, right? And starts creating that community and starts, as he creates he could create it. And we could talk about that in a second too, but join it because he knows that it's not good to be alone. It's not good to be isolated. In order for me to truly make progress in my life, I got to get around like-minded individuals, positive. When I say like-minded, I'm talking about positive, right? We're not looking for negative echo chambers. We're looking for men who are positive, men who are willing to challenge your thoughts, men who are willing to say, well, pause on that, right? The 11th man was willing to be challenged so he can grow. So that's the first step, right? He recognizes his own hurt, his own insufficiencies and whatnot. He gets it fixed, right? Gets help, reads a book. He gets it fixed though. And then he goes and joins and networks with other men who are like-minded like that, right? So that's the first step that the 11th man would do, right? He would join the community, right? He would not stay isolated. He would recognize that issue, fix it, and then he would connect with others.
Nice. Because the 11th man does things that he does the self-help. He looks for problems. He gets out of his comfort zone, but he also draws boundaries for himself. If you look at it, like Doc said, if you look behind if you're on YouTube, if you're watching this, you can't see that, but the logo was built between me and him. It was inspired by the Sparta, the shield and the moral compass. That's pointing to the North Star for everything else that's you got. Boundaries so that you have limitations and integrity, and a brotherhood to support to push people up in a way that's going to be able to help everybody else up instead of pulling people down. Isolating men that isolate themselves doesn't get the help they want because maybe they don't know how to, or maybe they think, like Doc said earlier, it's a false belief that's been taught to them because maybe past trauma, maybe an uncle, maybe like you said. I've seen a lot of Wes Watson. I've seen a lot of what was the one that you just mentioned? I've seen a lot of them in prison. I used to be one, but I realized a lot of things that's not how you want to. Yeah, you might have the materialistic things and all this bullshit, but things comes around with that, and the truth gets exposed later on. It's getting exposed right now for a lot of them. But it all comes down to, because I used to pimp women out. I used to pimp transvest. I did a lot of different things because I was at the top thinking that's how it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be like that when you become a real God-fearing man, basically, right? And be able to do those type of things. What was the second point you was going to say about that, Doc?
So once you become the 11th man and you're in community, then you want to become a safe space, right? So circling back to what we were saying before in the beginning, the idea of being a safe space, you know what it's like to be in isolation. You know why you were in isolation. You know how you came out of isolation. You know the pain and the hurt and all that stuff that comes with that. So now as the 11th man you've become, now you become that safe space for another man who's coming up, who's becoming, who's trying to overcome, who's trying to get to where you are. You got to become that safe space. That means you're not judgmental, right? That means you're listening. That means you're validating, right? That means, you're willing to pour into him, right? That means you're willing to come to kind of mentor him in a way. That's what second part, right? You do for yourself, and then after that, you start doing for others. You start pointing to others and helping others and being that safe space because you know what it was like to be in that situation when you were isolated and by yourself. You know the dark thoughts. You know what the edge looks like. You know all that. And you now should have something inside you that says, I don't want another man to have to experience that or go through that alone. So that's the second part of being that. You become that safe space for everybody, for your children, for your wife, for your friend, at work, in the grocery store. You become that safe space. You become a beacon of light and hope around everywhere you go. And we know, okay, I can talk to him and it's not going to get back out to this person, or I can confide in him, or he cares about me, or he listens to me. That's the second part. We have to become, right? Because just because we get good and we get safe for ourselves and we get community and whatnot, like it doesn't stop there. We now have to give back. We have to pay it forward. We have to help other people. And we don't do it just because we're trying to get something from it. We do it because it's the right thing to do, that we're saving lives. You have no idea. The number one cause of people unaliving themselves is feeling like they don't have any connection to anyone in the world. No one's going to understand them. And they're in deep-seated pain. People think about unaliving themselves as if it's well, I'm working for my parents and this and that or whatever. You don't understand. There are people who are thinking about that, aren't thinking about it in terms of what I'm leaving behind. They're thinking about, what kind of peace am I going to get? They're creating that in their mind, right? But the thing is, when you're in love with a man, you can give them that peace here on earth, right now. They don't have to kill themselves in order to get that peace. Because if you can listen, you can validate, you can understand, you could be there, just be present. You give them an opportunity to release that pressure, release those feelings, connect with somebody. Oh, shoot, somebody does care. And it's especially important for us as men, because while we don't attempt as much as women do, we are 4 times more successful than women are, because we use the most lethal methods, right? So it is critically important, and that ties heavily into isolation. But if we are connecting with the community, if we're being that 11th man or being that safe space, that gives someone access to you who wouldn't necessarily have that. It gives them another alternative to taking their own life. I can open up and share with Gordon. I can open up and share with Keith. They care. They'll listen. There's hope. Even if I'm down, there's someone to lift me up and say, hey, come on, we can keep going. It's all right. I understand. I've been there. Let's keep going. Let's keep pushing forward. So that's the power of becoming the 11th man in that way and being in that safe space. That's the second part. Again, it's critical for us to do that and be that at all times, because you never know when you're going to encounter someone who's on their last leg.
Absolutely. All right. You see me go through all this stuff. We've been through this stuff. Everybody's trying to help each other out. This is what we do right now, because a lot of times you might be in a situation where you don't want to unalive yourself. You mean? And this is what we're going to be here for, because isolation is just some of the signs that you go through with what you got going on. And I just wanted to say, Doc, my phone is about to die out on this TikTok. If you want to watch us on the live, right, head on over to YouTube right now. Watch it go to Boundaries of Brotherhood. We will still continue this show for about another 5-10 minutes, because we're on number 3. So I'm going to go as long as this thing gets kicked out. But imagine your life. You have a choice: isolation or being productive with a group of men that supports you, provides you, and gives you direction. Which would you choose? Because the person that isolates themselves and think they're doing everything else because they can get it on, even at a business, anybody that's an overachiever has coaches, works with teams. They don't isolate. Any Super Bowl, you got to play as a team. Any big sport, organized sport, you got to, even if you isolate it in the UFC, you still have a team. You still have a support of brothers, no matter what. You still.
But they're not even isolated.
They have trainers.
That spar with. They got the people that the doctors. They have a whole team. That one person in that octagon has an entire group of team, a community of people behind them. No one ever does it alone. Period. Nobody ever does it alone. There's not one man who has been successful by any measure that has done it by himself. No one in a noticeable way has did it by himself. It's impossible. You can't. Jesus Christ couldn't do it. What makes you think you can? You're not better than God. I'm sorry.
So if you're looking for some help, if you're looking for some, reach out, leave us a comment. Leave us a comment on YouTube, Boundaries and Brotherhood. We have a podcast out there. We got a playlist. We have workshops. We have an assessment. Like, it's built from a therapist's background. That man right there, Doc, on the bottom here on the left, it's built so that he can get the help that you need. I'm just a raw guy. I'm the cheerleader.
Trust me, a little more than that, guys. More than that. All this technology stuff, all that stuff behind the scenes, he's the brains of that. I just show up and talk. He sets everything up. He gets the videos up. He gets all that. Listen, we can't do it alone, right? We're alone.
The beautiful part is, guys, me and Doc collaborated on this because we just want to help people out. It's not for it's not for money, it's not for anything else. We just want to get word out so that you don't unalive yourself, put yourself in a situation. That's all. But the playlist is on YouTube. Subscribe. Give us a like, a follow either on Doc for Freedom Change Success. Reach out to him. Guys, it's a brotherhood. It's not just for men either. I just want to say aloha. I'll see you guys next week. Oh, me and Doc are on every Thursday. Hello, guys. See you guys later. Bye.
Y'all be blessed. Take care. Bye.